Hello and welcome back to our study of Peninei Halacha, the teachings of Rabbi Eliezer Melamed, Shlita. We find ourselves today on Tainus Esther observed, since Purim falls on Motzai Shabbos, so as the Gemara indicates, the fast is pushed to before the holiday, not after, as sometimes when fast days are pushed off. And we are observing the fast. Hope everyone has a meaningful fast today. Also as a International Yom Tefillah, day of prayer, a day of reckoning that hopefully we can together, Am Yisrael, Ki'ish Echad B'Lev Echad, to daven and hopefully make some progress to save our people from the current plight. Please daven for Chayalei Tzva Agana Yisrael, Refuah Shalema, those who need, and of course the safe return of all of our hostages. Our learning, we continue, is dedicated in memory of Daniel Shimon ben Harav Doron Visheli, Captain Daniel Perez, Hashem Yakum Damo. Perhaps apropos, the topic today is Nashim Batzava, the women in the army, and one of the miracles of Purim, and the Gemara indicates in a number of places, is Afhein Ayu Ba'os Anes. One of the reasons that women are included and involved and required to observe the mitzvahs of Purim is because they are a major part of the miracle. So let's see what Rav Melamed has to teach us today. Av shegam nashim mitzuvos batzalas Yisrael of mitzvahs yishuv haaretz. Even, of course, that women are commanded and included in the mitzvah of saving Israel and mitzvah of settling Israel. However, the Torah never required women to enlist and to draft into the army. Because it's not the way. Gemara in Yevamos says that it's not the way of a woman to be a conqueror. And the Gemara in Kedushin says it's not the way of a woman to make war. So therefore, we have never found that women went out to war, neither in the first or second Commonwealth, during the first or second Beis HaMikdash. Even though the Mishnah in Sota tells us, the Mishnah says quite clearly that in a mechama of mitzvah, everyone goes out, even a groom from his groom's chamber and a bride from her bridal suite. The Rambam paskins in Hilchos Malachim, that since a groom has to leave his room to go to war for a mitzvah, so it says what it means is that the kala, the bride, would leave her chuppah and she would go back to her home. That since we're talking about a milchama, a war that is warranted for a mitzvah and not reshus, so women are also required to help out in the war effort. Rather, they're more on a periphery and helping out with matters what you would call homeland security, meaning taking care of supply chain, making sure there's water and food, etc., etc. And we've already learned, and we've covered to a great extent, about maintaining modesty in the camp, because it says, we have to be careful for tznius, for modesty, but also to make sure that we protect from even the possibility of stumbling into an avera. Kefisha Pershu Chazal, Gemara in Avodah Zarah says, "V'nishmarta mikol davara shelo yihaher adam hayom v'yavo lidei tuma b'layla." That by guarding yourself from all evil means, a person shouldn't have any stray thoughts during the day, which could lead to perhaps tuma in the nighttime. V'chein mashma misof haparshiyah she'ikar hakavana lahazhir meherhurim shel erva, particularly the thoughts of unlawful and inappropriate intimate behaviors. Because the pasuk says as much. You shouldn't see ervas davar. So we learn what is ervas davar. You have to be careful from using foul language, from being too much of leitzanos, too much mockery. Because these are tied to davar, which is speech, and also erva, which can lead to inappropriate behavior. B'divrei Chazal lamadnu shediburim gasim v'leitzanos elul negrom l'nefilas nefashos b'Yisrael. The Chazal teach us that these types of inappropriate behavior and this type of inappropriate language can actually lead to losing people and losing people during war from the Jewish nation. Nimtzem came. So practically speaking, having men and women together in the army, again, it should be contingent on the guidance of the Torah. And this is the decision of the rabbinate of Israel, that girls are forbidden to enlist in the army. However, many women are participating and partnering in this mitzvah, that they are strengthening the men who are going to war, and also they can fulfill certain purposes in the army as well, again, perhaps in the periphery. So again, not necessarily going into a combat unit, but certainly going into other areas. So in the notes, Rav Melamed also points out the question of wearing the uniform, about a woman wearing pants, carrying a gun, these types of things, and not for now. But we do see that many women actually do draft to the army in Israel, but again, many of them could be in periphery position, not necessarily to combat units, but perhaps to be instructors, or to be in intelligence, to be in cyber units, whatever it is. So that's certainly something that's not only permitted, but I think it's something that's recommended, because that's considered supporting the men who are fighting. Again, it's not. I know it sounds in today's world, perhaps you're not even allowed to say these things, but the halacha is the halacha. And it's not necessarily sexist, it's just the way it is. And the way the Gemara sees it is, darko shel ish lichbosh ve'ein darko shel isha lichbosh. That it's not the way of a woman to go out and battle. And but if it's a shas hatzorech, a case of war, so if we looked at that, I'm sure everybody remembers that case from October 7th of the 4 women who were in the tank, and they headed north. They were way down south, and they took out many terrorists, many mechablim. I don't think anybody would argue about the heroism of what they did, and we have many acts of heroism from women over the generations. So in any event, when it comes to actually drafting, maybe perhaps going into a combat unit or something like that, we would refrain from doing so. So hope everyone has an easy fast. We'll see you again here, Mirz Hashem, next time. As we get closer to Purim, please continue to daven for Chalei Tzvagan Yisrael, for Shalem L'Chol Yisrael, safe return of all of our hostages, and Le'ili Nishmas, Daniel Shimon Ben Harav Daron, Shelei Hashem Yakum Damo. Have a good day.